Oh, hi folks, it is Josephine here, Josephine Saucier. How I love saying my new name. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit organised, sorry, a little late. The cat decided to do its thing just at that moment. Okay, now, if anybody's coming on, would love to for you to do comments, etc. as we go through this. So I've actually prepared some notes today because this is a really big subject and catch my breath. It's actually freezing cold here today, so sorry if I stop apologising. I'm going to hold my tea to keep warm. Okay, so why have I done a live stream on the illusions of soul purpose? As many of you know, I have been teaching and... Hey Shoshana, thanks for joining. And Lisa, oh, you found us. I just saw you did a post on infinite expansion, which I haven't run for a couple of years, so I'm glad you found it here. So as you know, I have been teaching wisdom teaching and healing in the soul mastery arena for 5 years now. When I discovered that I am a parallel soul, amongst other things, it changed my life. It changed everything that I knew, because I came home to my knowing, and my self-development and level of consciousness exponentially grew when I found that, and it's been exponentially growing since, and it was absolutely the core reason that I started teaching and healing and embracing my own gifts. So this year, you know, I've experienced some absolutely massive breakthroughs with the latest in cosmic consciousness. Yeah, and as you say, Shoshana, excited to learn. You know, there is so much regurgitated human consciousness, you know, on the light grid stuff out there. You've all been there, you've all seen it, you've all known it, you're all still seeking, you're all still waiting for the answers. And for many years, I was about, well, once you know your soul purpose, you can understand, you know, the gifts in this lifetime, but also the challenges. And I still stand by that. And, you know, every single person that joins this group all answer the question, yes, I'm ready to live to, you know, to my soul and beyond, which is exciting. And yet, I would say that the majority is not prepared to do the work. Actually, when I'm honest with you, you know, many people, they think, oh, if I get the report, and if only I just knew what it was I'm meant to be doing here. And then once you know, awaken a little bit more, you understand, well, then I can, you know, who is it that I be? You know, all of that is still very relevant. The thing is, you know, today's live stream is going to be breaking down some of the illusions that are simply not being talked about, and it makes so much sense. So for 5 years I've been talking about, well, overcome the challenges of soul purpose. And when I've done energetic, hey Andy, thanks for joining. When I'm in session with my clients, is I absolutely do the energetic breakdown across all time, space, dimensions and realities. I'm a quantum energy worker. So what I do, I read the Akashics, I reprogram, recalibrate and reset the Akashic records. So that's all very useful, and I still stand by my gifts in able to do that. However, it just adds to the ongoing healing and understanding and learning. It's like peeling this never-ending bloody onion of our lives, and not just this life, but, you know, across all lives. And this is what I want for you to understand. Your soul is the surge protector, if you like, between light and dark. Hey Loretta, thanks for joining. It's a surge protector between light and dark, because as we become enlightened, which is what we're taught is the ultimate goal on the light grid, and our bodies get rid of the lower density energies, we can raise our frequencies up and up within the light grid, within that frequencies, because we can receive it. However, what often happens, and especially for those, you know, one of the biggest indicators for me is where you actually belong beyond the light grid is mental illness and bipolar. And these extremes are, we have this breakthrough on the light grid, we're receiving all this light, and then suddenly we're plummeted back down into the darkness, what we call the darkness. It's not darkness, so it's shadow, okay? Because our soul is coming through going, hang on a minute, we need to protect the memories of all these lifetimes and keep them in place. Who is this being to come forward and actually break through and actually see the myth of what the soul is about? And that is the biggest point of difference with what's not being taught out there. Our soul serves us as that surge protector to fit in with human consciousness on the light grid. And absolutely it serves its purpose. Absolutely it's to bring us out of real lower density energies of shadow into the light. Fabulous, it serves its purpose. We're going through that. Except there's this glass ceiling around this universe which is deemed by the spiritual as once we get to the light we're enlightened. And there is so much more beyond this light grid. There's so much more beyond this universe, and there's so much more to that. You know, the light, as I've talked about in previous live streams, can be switched on and off. And our soul is, as I say, that surge protector between going into the darkness and not. And so, you know, the soul is here. It comes in to our body and it programs our body with all the memories of all the past lifetimes of all the shadow. Right? And so when I'm doing my healing work and I'm clearing across times, yeah, absolutely, it's pulling those things up, but one at a time. It's a slow process. Or it can be. It depends, you know, if we get to the big ones and pull them out, they can make a massive, massive difference energetically. But I want for you to understand, where people are saying, oh, if I only know my soul purpose, and then I'll know what it is I'm meant to be doing in this lifetime. It's like your soul is for you to experience life. And it comes from the premise, and it's something that I have said for years, there is nothing more important than how you feel. And that's been one of my lines for 5 years. And yet when you get to the actual truth, that's just your soul experience of measuring what you're experiencing in the now. Hey, Alana, what you're experiencing in the now compared to all the memories of this lifetime and past lifetimes. It's just a comparison. Yeah, and so it's that never-ending seeking for more seeking of light, and to have these experiences and raise the frequency, and yet it's all based on this falsehood of just trying to escape the shadow. But soul is so programmed with shadow, we're never going to escape it, and that's why you're never-ending searching. Yeah, by all means, put some comments in here. Is this new stuff? Is it, you know, is it resonating? Is it, you know, blowing your mind, or is it just like it's just all of the nonsense? It doesn't worry me. What is it you think or feel about it? I for me, it's just that ultimate truth of all the space that is around us, the dark energy that they call it, the dark quantum energies, the dark feminine. And it's from that space we came, and it's from that space we can create. It's from that space, away from the light grid, that terrifies most on the light grid because it can't be seen, that our true genius lies. Okay, so going back to soul purpose. So I did write some notes, so sorry if I moved my eyes. You know, it's that thing, as I say, when we get to that next point of realization, our soul pipes up and goes, that doesn't fit with our memory. We want to go back, and we pulls us back down into shadow. And that's why we get so many oscillations, especially those on the tip of the breakthroughs to the truth. Because, you know, as you know, most people on this earth are flatlining. They're like this. They don't admit it. They don't see what it is. They're just trying to, you know, get through. You know, I'm not going to talk about the earth as such. You're here in this group because you are awakening, and you know there's something different and out there, and what are those solutions. And now Sam bring forward that premise that your soul is damps down your ability to receive and process the light because it's too much for our bodies. And before we can become energy masters on the light grid, not before, as we become energy masters on the light grid, then we can start to actually alchemize the soul to go back into the eternal dark. Does that make sense? I mean, how's that? I mean, it's big stuff. It's big stuff that we're talking about. So, you know, because your soul has no concept of being God itself, right? Because the soul, as I say, is all part of human consciousness. And so the biggest challenges for us as humans is we believe that we need to belong, we need to fit in, we need to have value, we need to give and receive value so that we can be worthy enough of giving and receiving love, right? These are the premises of human consciousness, human conditioning. That's what we've been taught, that's what we've been told. And it's when we feel separate to that's when the pain comes in, okay? And what would happen if we didn't have that construct that we needed to belong? You know, I know there'll be individuals in this group that are watching now, watching later, that have never felt that they've belonged, have never fitted in. They're never happier when they're on their own. They're never happier when they're cosmic exploring into the truth of who they are, when they don't have to put up with all this human bullshit that they're trying to do, when they can stop trying to prove their value to someone else, when they can stop being needed and wanted by others to be worthy. They're just desperate for that, desperate. But they've never found the space to do it. And those aspects of them, they think that's what makes them wrong and bad and failure. Because those are the aspects, those are the characteristics of your true genius. And as a genius, you live this priceless work. Your life is a priceless piece of art, as only you can do as that individuation, where you don't belong anywhere. You are who you are, regardless of who's watching you, seeing you, valuing you. All right? So under human conditioning and human consciousness with our soul, you know, we're talking about what's our soul gifts. If I know what my soul gifts are, then I can work towards it. Then I will have something of value to give to others. So it's all this exchange of value. Whereas when you're actually free of that, and you return to your genius giant, there's no value on it. It's priceless. Does that make sense? Shoshana, it makes sense. This year I broke from the church, and it was the whole idea that we were waiting to get out. But what we're saying, I realise that there is so much more, and we span more than here than later. Exactly. Our souls have eternal life. They want to connect us to spirits, go light that can awaken us. Yes, our souls want us to have the experiences, right? The soul wants us to have these life experiences. And as I say, that is all still valid. I'm just saying that your soul purpose is not the be-all and end-all, which is what I've taught for 5 years. It's so not the be-all and end-all, because it's all subject to human conditioning, and it's all brought in with so your soul is your shadow feminine energy, and it's the root cause for all your suffering. Everything. You come in with it. And, you know, I think you wrote a comment just in another post just a moment ago about your ancestors and stuff. It's just more conditioning. And what happens is, again, when I'm in a session with people, we open the lung meridians to free yourself of all that cultural conditioning and ancestral healing, because you've been carrying it forward for lifetimes. Because you made contracts lifetimes ago to carry all that stuff. And that's why it's never ending. Yeah, it's only when you start to get to the point of realization that not only do you alchemize your shadow, which is what I talked about in this group for the last few months, and it's what I teach my clients one-on-one, not only to become shadow alchemists at their best, but then to master the light, and then to move into the dark. It's like a three-phase process to discover your own genius. I call it unleashing the alchemist, the true alchemist that you are. Great, I'm glad that resonates for you, Shoshana. So, human consciousness is at its saturation point. You can see what's happening in the earth around us. Everybody's, so panicking. It's not how it was, and I absolutely agree. Us humans need to have more respect from the environment around us. Except it's still very old school ways. So rather than being so dogmatic, so, the activists are so hanging on to the past and old ways, rather than completely embracing the new technology, new ways of being, new consciousness, new ways, evolving into solutions, rather than getting upset that we're not how we used to be. Right? And this is what needs to come forward. This is cosmic consciousness. I do not stay stuck in the past. I am a visionary. I am a creator. I see. I bring through the vision for life. And that's why I'm working with change makers. Hey Louise, thanks for joining. That's why I'm working with change makers on this planet, either those that have got that visionary foresight to bring through the solutions. And it's either the parents, the mothers of the children that will bring through the changes, or it's mothers that are yet to birth the child that will bring through the changes. Because I'm such a stance for cosmic consciousness breakthroughs and going beyond human conditioning and human consciousness. That's just what needs to happen. And I'm getting clearer and clearer that that's my role. and calling in the people into this group and into my client base of people that are absolutely ready to stand into that no matter what, and to break through all these paradigms of conditioning and actually find the ultimate freedom of not having to belong or fit in or do what others say. Because all your life you've been trying to alchemize your genius. So all the things that you've been told to keep at bay and pipe down and shut up and what do you know are your genius, and that's what needs to escape. That's what's longing to escape. That's your soul part that's going, oh God, I just want to be seen, heard and understood. Out of shadow. Yeah, out of shadow, in the true light. Right? And then once you get to once you've mastered that, so you master the light grid in terms of what you can create through full shadow alchemy, then your genius, your dragon that's lying asleep back in the darkness, gets stirred awake. Anyway, I have talked about those aspects many times on my other live streams. So, it's when people, I've been on my journey, as it were, 16 years, and I have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in my health, well-being, self-development, self-learning, expansion. Absolutely. It's been my utmost commitment every single day of my life for the last, not 16 years, but 13 years, since 2003. 16, oh, it's 16 years, there we go. And there's no other aspect that is more important to me. My evolvement, my consciousness involvement is more important to me than my children, than my life, than my surroundings, my house, my money, anything. Because it's absolutely living from that space of consciousness and evolving at consciousness. That's what life is about. That's sole purpose. When it's the continual requirement to expand. So, when you look about, how many challenges can you deal with in this lifetime, that's why a spiritual grid, the spiritual seekers are just never ending. You're never going to get there because you're always seeking, there's always more, there's always challenging. It's just a shadow. So until you actually learn to alchemize the shadow, instead of dealing with it there, feeling it there, allowing it to be felt, allowing it to go through, and that, it's just, fuck, aren't you done with that? Aren't you fucking done with that? I am. I was. To the point of, I have seriously fantasized about my suicide and written my notes, over the years, 25 years. And that's only because I didn't really understand it as a child. I'd have been quite ready to get off this planet as a child. Like my mother did when I was 18. She couldn't stand being here. She was parallel. Yeah? And it's only when you go, fuck, I don't have to live in this shadow anymore, and there's tools out there to actually break down that alchemy, then you get to the definition of living. Then you get to the aspect of your soul purpose, is to actually embrace the light fully as your soul, and then return to your dark. Okay? Big stuff. In the light grid, we see our body, mind, and soul as all these chambers. Or if I found the key to that chamber. Oh, I can open that one. I can unlock. I can heal that part. Wonderful, that's gone. Then there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. All these chambers across all time, space, dimensions, and realities, as I use in my healing. And it's very tiring. You're never going to get the end of it. Okay, it is not. Sorry to disappoint you. Whereas when we let go of the human conditioning that we're compartmentalized, trying to fit in with everybody else around us, we can become this vessel of just this fluid energy to come through us and out, to dip onto the light grid. Yeah, and then we're in total flow. That's when it feels absolutely amazing to be doing that. It's that vessel, it's that streaming of dark energy the whole time. We don't need to do the piecemeal approach. Okay. And so, whilst our soul challenges are, the thing that holds us back, and that is your shadow, and that's what I have been teaching for 5 years. Your soul gifts are also the portals through to your dark innate gifts. So, what you have done in other lifetimes, where you actually embraced your own magical abilities. And I use that word magic as in you can create something out of nothing. In any way, shape or form, something that's never been existed before. And just to touch base on that again, when we manifest something, that's something that already exists on the light grid, that we pull it out. When we're working with femifestation, it's about pulling out something from nothing. Okay, so when we sorry, I've just lost my thought there. So when I'm working with clients, we go back into the Akashic record and find those lifetimes where you had those abilities fully in tune, fully using them, and we reprogram your Akashic through the soul level of that, which then opens up the doorways to your genius. So just understand that your soul is the springboard into your genius giant nature, where you are priceless, where we can stop putting a value on our worth that's determined by you or someone else that's limited, on the light grid. And your genius is your most potent energy in the universe. And it's the chaotic energy, okay? And I love this analogy because you've got this chaos of the universe that lives in stillness within our bones. With our very bones is our genius. And if you think how back to front that is with the light grid, where we are trying to escape the chaos to come into stillness, the dark is about escaping the stillness and coming into the chaos, the chaos of life, and just letting it all unfold. And so whilst the soul readings are useful, and yes, I've offered just doing reports in the past, it's always been for me about doing the energetics with people. That's when they physically feel the transformation, because we're clearing all the energies of lifetimes and reprogramming it there. But in order to escape the shadow, the real shadow of who you are, you have to do the work. And most are not prepared to do this. Most think, I'll just keep searching and I'll just, just looking for the light. And when you keep looking forward into the light, you're like a moth, keep going to the light. You can't see the shadow behind you. You're not willing to turn around and look at the shadow. And if you do, you turn it around and pat it on its back. Oh, there. Oh, I'm acknowledging you now, shadow. Now you can go away quietly and I'll go back to looking at the light. Rather than turning around, just alchemizing it so it doesn't follow you anymore. That's the thing. It's not about regurgitating what the spiritual people are talking about. It's about, yes, I have the tools for the alchemy, and it's about igniting those codes within you once again, so you can bring forward those true gifts, which is beyond your soul. So, big subject today. Again, I'm happy to have comments and things. I just want to answer some of the questions that came up in the comments on this when I announced the live stream. So, Brooklyn said, "Is it possible it's an ever evolving thing and not something set ahead of your birth here in this form?" So yes, look, your soul is an ever-evolving thing. It's to add to the memories and to have the experiences and clear some of the last lifetimes and patterns and karmic conditioning. You're here to experience everything and feel everything. That is your soul purpose. But can you see how it's never-ending? Can you see how it's continually, lifetime after lifetime, of searching and clearing and healing and sorting and changing the patterns and changing the memories, and until you die, and then you go into the next lifetime and do it all again? That's what karmic's about, right? So it's only when you are willing to dissolve that surge protector of the soul and actually live as the God that you are, that's the ultimate freedom from human conditioning and human consciousness, where you're stepping into the cosmic consciousness of what is. And that is when your soul purpose is actually fulfilled, to return you to the truth of who you are as a genius. Big stuff, hey? So, Ileana, she says, "I don't have a clue what my soul purpose might be. The only thing I know, it's not what I was doing before I got ill. There's a healer magician inside me that wants to come out and play, but it's shy. Finding and living my soul purpose would hopefully make me break out of the feeling of disease which got me sick in the first place." Ileana, the only thing that made you sick was your shadow. Right, it's just shadow. It's the only thing that makes anybody sick is shadow. It's dis-ease of the mind, body and soul. It's pretty simple. So it's certainly not about doing, it's about doing the work to alchemize what's caused you to be sick. Right? That's why, I know people, I know one woman in particular, she is so riddled with absolutely every medical condition you could possibly think of, and yet she still fully functions because she's so highly conscious. because the disease can't get, she has all these things going on in her body, but the disease can't, it just keeps kind of reforming and causes the pain, but it can't reform and grip because the disease can't live in the light body. Right? So your disease, most people, well, everybody gets disease because you're living in the lower density in your body. So it's, you know, finding your soul purpose. Your soul purpose is to realise this and do the work. It's that simple. So there we go. Look, I think I'm going to wrap it up now, half an hour. I would love some comments, some feedback. This is probably new wisdom for the most, and I invite you, you know, are you ready to do the work? That's what it comes down to. You know, how desperate are you to end the seeking, to end the bipolar, to actually know it's okay to be on your own and yet have the support to take you back to your dark genius, which is what I do and where I come from. And as always, you're invited to, for those that are serious, invited to have a call with me. You complete the questionnaire first, and then from your answers I'll deem whether we would have a conversation. I'm stepping up the ante with who I work with, and you know what I'm bringing forward. So, as you know, I'm going through a massive relaunch, rebuild, everything, reprogramming, and that's what I'm here to help you with. So, thanks for all those that could be on live today. I really appreciate you being here. By all means, now that your mind's blown, stick some comments in below and I'll answer the questions. Until next time, ciao ciao.